Everyone, it's your girl Nycci Nellis, and welcome back to another industry night. Yes, this is show number two for me today, but I did change my clothes and put on new earrings. But I'm doing two shows today because I really couldn't pass up the opportunity to sit down with today's guests. So, if Wanderlust is one of your intentions for 2026, it is totally mine. Um, who isn't craving travel, especially when it comes to like connection with others, nature, really good food, and something that like stirs in you, that shares a story? Well, if you're like me, then this episode is absolutely for you because on today's industry night, I'm heading to Northern California to a place that feels both deeply grounded and honestly, it's kind of magical. And if you can hear one of my guests in the background, that is a river flowing. So it's going to be like a little AMSR on the show today. So joining me is chefs Juliana Thorpe and Ignacio Nacho Zuzulich. They are the husband and wife. They are co-executive chefs behind the Lodge at Dawn Ranch. Now, this place is set in the foothills of the redwood forest in Sonoma County. And it's one of California's most unique microclimates. So together, they are reinventing California cuisine through the lens of their South American heritage. So Juliana is from Brazil and Nacho is from Argentina. His family actually has a restaurant there that's been there a long time. We're going to find out all about that. But the cool part is that, and I said this to them off air, their paths converged. A little peanut butter mint chocolate for a Reese's peanut butter cup because they met in a fabulous kitchen in Spain, and then they were at the Meadowood in Napa Valley. And today they are doing Brazil and Argentina with the freshness of California bounty. So beyond the cuisine, Juliana and Nacho are also rethinking hospitality itself, right? So they're prioritizing mentorship, collaboration, sustainability. And I, for one, am very interested in their approach, especially as a husband and wife team, um, on leadership. So, hello, you two. Welcome to Industry Night.
Thank
Hello.
you so much.
Thank you,
It's
Nikki,
so
for
nice.
having
So
us.
nice to have you both. Okay, so let's sort of start it off. Juliana, I'd love to start with you if you don't mind. How did you grew up in Argentina? Oh no, Brazil. You started in Brazil. Tell me a little bit about your background in Brazil and what got you into cooking.
So I grew up in a very small town, actually in the countryside of a very small town, Ayuruoca in Minas Gerais,
Mhm,
and the south of Minas Gerais in the mountains. It's
mhm,
actually a very magical, beautiful nature place. It really reminds me when I'm here, it reminds me of the energy that I feel when I'm there. Grew
mhm.
up with a Brazilian mom, and actually my dad is from Pittsburgh, but
Oh,
has been living in Brazil for a long time. Um, Grew up my almost my entire childhood and spent most of my life in the countryside and
mhm.
left because I wanted to learn French, and I had the opportunity to do some voluntary work in France, in the south of France, in a community called L'Arche, where I actually started cooking. I didn't come from, I come from a vegetarian family. So my
Okay.
parents grow what they eat. I grew up cooking what we had in the garden, but never thought about it as something for my professional career until
Mm.
I went to this community where I started cooking a couple of times a week and fell in love with it. And that's when I decided to go back to Brazil and study culinary.
That's a great story. So you did all your culinary education in Brazil.
Yes.
Okay.
In the
And Nacho, what about you?
So, well, I have no options. My family have restaurants
They're
since
like, you're cooking.
yeah,
Start
yeah, yeah,
cooking.
yeah. So I have no options. So since I'm probably 13, 14, I'm working in the kitchen like
Mhm.
all the weekends. Probably I was going the weekdays going to
What
school.
kind of what kind of restaurant is it?
So so my dad and my mom started this restaurant, and in the beginning they started doing some sandwiches and some food, but also my family, like my grandfather and my grandmother, they have a hotel and a restaurant. So it's
Oh,
been probably like 50 or 55 years
okay,
since there.
so hotel is in your blood as well.
Yeah,
So all
yeah.
of it.
So at the restaurant, I started doing like really simple things, and until they became like a more fine dining in Córdoba. And
Hmm.
probably my dad was one of the first bringing this fine dining to Córdoba. So the restaurant, and my dad is known for that. And so I grew up in the restaurant, working the weekends, then started working every day. I never went to culinary school, because my dad told me I will never pay for a culinary
I
school.
feel like you were an apprentice like since day one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He told me, if you wanna learn, come here and work, and you will learn.
Hmm.
And he was right. And then always I wanna, in that time when I was 18, I wanna go to work outside. So I left Argentina when I was 18. Sorry,
Hmm.
19. I went to work in Brazil. Then I went to France to work for Michel Bras. Then went to Spain. Here back
So
to
did you
Spain.
guys meet in Spain or did you meet in Brazil?
We
in
met,
Brazil.
yeah, in Brazil.
You met in Brazil. Okay,
So
so where were you
we
cooking
weren't
in
a
Brazil?
couple at that time. Yeah.
Okay, so
So we
where were you both cooking?
so we were cooking at La Sai. It's a two
Hmm.
Michelin star restaurant in Rio de Janeiro. The
Okay.
owner is Rafa Costa Silva. It's a beautiful restaurant. So we met there. I was young. I was 19 years old. In
How old were
Rio de Janeiro.
you? How old were you, Juliana?
Now or back then?
Yes. Back then, back then.
Back then I was 24.
Okay, so you're both like super young. Okay. And did you go to Spain together? Like at what point did you two like embark on a personal relationship?
So that
We
was
at when we met in Brazil, we weren't a couple. I was engaged at the time.
Okay. Hmm.
So
Oh, I feel like
naturally,
there's a whole side story we could do here, but that's okay.
for another time.
We'll stick to it another time.
So Nacho goes to France to Michel Bras. I
Hmm.
finished my year in Brazil in La Salle, and we apply for the internship at Mugaritz in the Basque Country in San Sebastian
Right.
for the same following year. So we kept texting during that time, and he says, "You know what? I'm going to Mugaritz next year." I'm like, "Oh, me too," just like that. So we
Okay.
started our internship in the same year, but it wasn't an agreement we had. It was just like we wanted to do the same thing at the same time.
And what was it about that internship that spoke to both of you so much?
so the owner of La Sai, he was the head chef there at Mugaritz.
Hmm. Okay.
So he talked a lot to us. And then also in the time, Mugaritz came to La Sai to do an event together.
Hmm.
So we met all the chefs, everybody there. And so we changed all the contacts. And then I think that was the thing that, like, Mugaritz is a place that anybody want to go. And the only way to go is in an internship. Internship
Hmm.
will be a year of internship that you will go, you will work, will be for the food and for the house, and you will
Right.
learn. Like, it's for me, it's like going to the best college that you can have. Is going there. You will learn like nowhere else. So
And
that's
so with that restaurant, for people who aren't familiar, I mean, with the Basque region, I mean, I've been to Barcelona, but I wasn't able to go up to San Sebastian, but we have chefs here that, I'm very familiar with it. But what was it about that education? What were the things that you walked away with, both of you, that you were like, that informed you today, that you're like, you keep pulling from that education? Juliana, what was it about that experience?
For me, it marked not only my personal life but my professional life before and after. I will never be the same after we spent not only our internship, but then in the story we'll tell you, but we go back to Mugaritz and we work there for 3 more years. The
Oh,
way of thinking, the way of working, it's just such a high level professionalism. With so many people from around the world, we have 40 different internships coming every year, different menu and different internships, that it just makes you, with all the culture, with the diversity of the culture and also all the pressure that you have, of being in such a high level restaurant. It just
Hmm.
very well, the system is really well composed and it's really well organized, really well divided. So the way of organizing a kitchen and a team and working in a very high level performance is something that pushes you to a limit that you would never imagine that you could get there. And then you get used to it and then you live with it. And everything after that becomes almost easy. There's other challenges, obviously, but in that
Right.
world, it just marks you forever in a really good way.
And so you wound up both staying for another 3 years. So what was the big leap from internship to actually working there? Like, was there a major change?
It was like, and so that always is like you're in internship, everybody are the same. Probably if you make a better job, you can be like a chef de partie, but also being as a internship, being became like a chef de partie. So you will be in charge of your station with two or three more. But when you get hired there, you will be more like a sous chef position,
Hmm.
kitchen. And so we were in that time four sous chefs and two head chefs. That how was organized.
Can I ask you both a question? Because Juliana, you really talked about the professionalism and the exacting. Like, it sounds like a very high intensity kitchen. Like, I'm sure people who are listening and people who are chefs, like I
We
can
know.
feel that intensity, right? Like I feel it. So how do you take that and make it a little more doable, approachable, make so that in your own kitchen, listen, the stress is there, but how do you make it livable, right? Like I think of that, do you remember that was that weird movie about the people going like somewhere in Switzerland? Like it was like a play on Noma, the chef kills everybody at the end, but like the intensity in that kitchen, do you know what I mean? Like it was killing them. That was the point. So I'm just sort of curious, like, did you take away anything from that experience and be like, I want this, but I don't want that.
100%. Um, I think long term, there's obviously things that you can get from discipline and from this high level performance. That things just happen in such a speed, and everybody has to adapt. And if you don't adapt, you just you get excluded from the system. But from a long-term perspective, and with our own team, this is something that me and Nacho we've always talked about after leaving. Is we would like to have the same level of efficiency and discipline and everything, but with uh, a good environment where people
Mm,
don't feel that they feel good. This is something that we felt really strong also coming here to California because the culture is very different. It's now
mm.
people coming into the kitchen, younger people coming into the kitchen. We come from a very military, old school training, but at the same
Well, I
time,
mean, the chef's jacket is that
brigade.
of a naval, the brigade, right? Like a naval captain, so or general.
That's where it comes from. But at the same time, we want a place where we can feel good. We want a place where people are pushing because they feel good that they're doing that for themselves inside them, that they know that they can be a little bit better. It's not because they're afraid of us or we're going to come and make people feel bad about what they're doing, or feel stupid, because that's very common in kitchens and has been very
Hmm.
common for so many years. So even then, we would watch movies like the one that you just described,
Right?
and say, "Oh my God, this is almost like nothing compared to actually what you feel or what you live in these kitchens." But it's not
Hmm.
what we believe in anymore. It's not what we want to bring for all our culture with our team.
Mm.
We want them to be executing at the highest level that they can, at the most efficiency, and creating this culture is something that is super special.
Hmm.
It takes a lot of energy, obviously, a lot of dedication, but does definitely feel gives back much more because you connect. You don't bond because of trauma. You bond because of trust. There's other things
Yes.
that come with another way of the relationship that we have now with our team. That I'm
Actually, if I
much more
may,
happy.
Yeah, to your point, I think especially in work situations, when people bond through trauma,
Mhm.
because they're having this traumatic experience through work, that the end result does suffer eventually, right? Like there's no way to carry that through. So if you're able to create an environment where people feel safe,
Okay.
then they are allowed to excel, right? Like I really believe in that. And I'd love to know, so as you guys were cooking together and developing your personal relationship and your professional relationship, how did you decide, like, how do you work together? How do you create your menus? How did you not, let's not get to where you are now, but at that time, like how did you make those decisions? Nacha?
So it's an evolution all the time. I think in
Mm,
the beginning we start working, and because even though that we can be together and we can spend all the time together because we work together and we live together, uh,
right.
at the time when we think different, and we think also how to do things in a different way. But the easiest thing of all this is that we want the same. Like we want the best thing for the kitchen. We want to create a nice dish. We want to use this product. So it's the same but different ways. And I
Hmm.
think in that position, and it's something. For example, I learned when I was in Mugaritz, we were two head chefs, and Andres was my partner, and Andres was so easy to work with him too because we say, okay, we want the same situation, but it's okay. I want to do it in this way. You want to do it in this way. Okay, let's try
Hmm.
half of this, and let's try to see where we get. With Julian is the same. We work in that way. Like we want the same things, but at the same time we know different ways, and in those
Mm.
different ways we say, okay, let's try a bit some part of this way and some part of that way, and we will get to the same point in different ways. So I
Well,
think
that
that's
makes a lot of sense. You're both bringing your creative tools to the table, but you're leaving space for both of you to put them out there and work together, which it's truly collaborative, which is amazing. I mean, I work with my husband on a different show. It is not as collaborative. I just want you to know. I'm sure that shocks you. But okay, let's get to the lodge at Dawn Ranch. Wait, let's get to Dawn Ranch. Because if you're watching this on YouTube right now, then you see that they are both in this like beautiful verdant background. It looks so calm. You can hear the river behind them. It sounds so fabulous. Um, Talk to me about Dawn Ranch and what it was that you were both like, yeah, we want to create there.
Not your me or me.
you can go. You can go.
So we just the timeline goes. We go to Mugaritz in Spain. We work for a year. We leave after our internship. We come to Napa. We work in Napa for a year, and then we get
Mhm.
hired officially in Mugaritz, back in Mugaritz. So we go back for three
Okay.
more years. After we leave, that's when pandemic hit. We go to
Mm.
Argentina. So we worked in Argentina for 2 years in the restaurant, in Nacho's family's restaurant. Not
Okay.
restaurants, they have a couple.
Hmm.
After 2 years, we were thinking this was a very amazing experience. We got to open another restaurant for a friend. We worked in the business, the family business, so a little bit more than just the kitchen and understanding a little bit more of the big scope. We were thinking about already starting something of our own and something, even
Okay.
though we really felt that was ours because it's family. At the same
Hmm.
time, we wanted to explore more something that we were taking the decisions about the menus in, and just starting something that was ours.
Hmm.
So we get the connection to come to Don Ranch. At the time when we knew it was Sonoma, it really in the beginning we thought it was Sonoma the town. We didn't know it was Sonoma County, and then we
Right. So
found out
out
it
a
was
little outside the
Guerneville.
town.
Yeah, which is in the beginning it's a very small town, but this is a beautiful place. The redwoods, the river, in the summer, in the winter, it's just a magical place. If you love nature and you want to escape a little bit the craziness of the day by day, this is a really special place. So we did a little bit of research, and they were reopening. They had just bought the property, and they were
Hmm.
reopening the place, and looking for somebody to take care of the culinary part.
And how
Um,
did you both present, like, once you understood sort of the lodge, I mean, not the lodge, I'm sorry, as Dawn Ranch, as sort of a space to get away, to reconnect with nature? Nacho was telling me before the show that they invested all this money, redid all the cabins, that it's really a retreat. So,
mhm.
how did the two of you take a look at what they were doing, get the vibe of the place, and decide how you wanted to execute the food and beverage service there?
No, I feel that in that moment our objective was okay. Let's open a restaurant. Okay, where we want to like to open a restaurant. One of those was California. Like
Mhm.
Napa was incredible. This was Sonoma. We said yes for sure,
Hmm.
and but then we saw what was the place. That it's a beautiful place, and so in our objectives was okay. We can open there. We can do something. Probably will take us a year for what point we are right now. We thought
Hmm.
a year we can do it in a year, and then we got here. It was totally different. Like I, we thought that we were ready to open a restaurant, and when we got here and see all the things that was different language, different country, different culture, different
Mm.
products, different culture of eating, and until we learned everything. But in that moment, we thought that we were ready, and we say, okay, we're in this incredible place. Like it's a nice place to do a restaurant, and probably to spend 5 6 years trying to do it. I think that was the thing that why we decided yes, and then we got here and was a different perspective of okay, from where you have to start to get
Hmm.
what you want. Uh, but the decisions, I think we know how incredible is Sonoma and how what incredible is the products they can find here and all the different incredible restaurants that we have around us. So I think that was the why we took the decision.
So, how did you guys? So, right now, you guys do tasting menus. Like, what? Talk us through the restaurant, sort of the offerings that you do there, and how you both pull not just from your years of cooking in Spain and in Meadowood and in Argentina, but how you pull from your Brazilian roots and your Argentinian roots, and then lay out these menus there. Can you walk us through the process a little bit?
Yeah, I think it was also an evolution, right? From the beginning, we started with a la carte menu. Now we're doing two tasting menus, which was
Hmm.
what we always wanted to do. We're doing a shorter one. It's called This and That,
Hmm.
and the full experience, the larger tasting menu is called All That.
Hmm.
And this would was only possible to take place, and that is how it is now. First, because we we learned a little bit more about where we were. We found the markets, the farmers markets that we loved, the farmers that we connect to that have amazing
Hmm.
produce. Now we go every Thursday to Marin's, and we go every Sunday to Hillsburg and get what you can't find in the supermarkets and you can't find in Greenleafs. Um, but when the game changer for us, making it possible for us to cook how we wanted to, with the
Hmm.
ingredients that we wanted to, in the way that we believed, and made us uh, happy and still inspired to do, was
Hmm.
when Renato, which is our front of house manager and wine director, joined the team. And he
Hmm.
comes from a background, his background is very similar to ours. We met in Mugaritz. He also worked in Mugaritz at the time. Then he came to San Francisco, and we were always trying to get him here because we knew that he had what we needed to complement on the front of house. So when he came and joined the team, everything changed, and then we could
Hmm.
focus on what we really wanted to do. Uh, First, the tasting menus, the structure, and everything else that makes it possible for the creation to happen.
Okay, and so he put together a terrific wine program. Am I right?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's one of the youngest advanced sommeliers that we have
Hmm.
nowadays. country, one of the youngest. In love with this, super passionate, and always bringing new ideas. Now we also have a tea pairing, super special, something that I've never seen, with tea service.
That's
Always
all
a
I do is drink tea literally all day long. I like mainline tea. That's my thing. So totally, you caught my eye. Well, let's talk a little bit about, working together as a couple. Now you bring in this director. You're executing what you want to. I'm just sort of curious because I really don't know. Are more of your diners from the area, or are they coming and staying? Like, who is your diner? Who is your audience?
So it's 50%. 50% are people that are coming to the hotel, and we receive all those people. So that 50%, a lot, almost 80% come from San Francisco area. So
Hmm.
all Palo Alto, San Francisco, Marin County, all that area, 80% are coming from there. And then
Okay.
20% from around the country. And then the other 50% are locals. We have a good from Hillsburg, from Sonoma, from Napa. We have a 50% of people coming
And
again.
that makes a lot of sense. I was just sort of curious because if you're really out of the way and doing a tasting menu, two tasting menus, you know, for the people staying at the hotel, at the ranch, I feel like I was wondering how that worked, for them and who you were serving to. Um, Let's talk a little bit about, because given what we talked about earlier, sort of all this education, especially in Spain and even at Meadowood, when I think about precision and how people are serving, how do you go about mentoring your staff, both of you, to execute the level of professionalism that you want, but to also, sort of break down that hierarchy that we were talking about earlier?
Oh, you
You're so nice
um,
to each other.
just on camera.
Okay.
I feel Nacho is really lightens up the day, like the energy of the kitchen. He
Mm,
loves to joke around. He's always making everybody laugh. He's playing with people. He makes people feel good. He is definitely focused on the cooking and making sure that things are that much better and that much precise. And
hmm
I feel that I'm a little bit more sometimes, balanced on this more serious of, I like to have the kitchen clean. I like to have the kitchen organized. I like to have everything in place in the right time and follow our agreements and do our lineups. So I do push a little bit more for that side, and then he complements with the other things. So I feel that, both of us have learned from each other and
hmm
how to take the team in the same direction, because one thing that is really common that I've seen in other places when there's more than one chef, giving directions, is that one will say something and the other one will say something different, and then people don't know what
hmm
to do. So we definitely learned that in the very beginning, working together and making sure that we weren't giving different directions and making and checking with each other before we communicated something, or seeing something, somebody doing something, and say, hey, did you tell them to do this way, or did you change this before saying something? So we learned how to do that together really well, and wanted the team to feel that it was as important to be on time, to be clean, to show up, to learn how to cook, to feel good, to be attentive in service, but also know how to lighten up, because you want to feel good during your day. You don't want to feel like this is a bad place. So I think because of our energy and how we decided that we wanted to live our lives, professional lives in the kitchen in the long term, they
hmm
just joined us in the same place we are. Um, we feel that
Don't
the
you think
response.
that really comes from the top, right? Like if you
Yeah.
two are giving this shining example of how you work together and really kind of laying out what your expectations are by not only putting up your expectations, but also behaving as in the same capacity, like, you know what I mean? Like I always say about Wolfgang Puck. who I adore, but that man works 24/7. Like, he's high octane, right? All the time. And he expects everybody else to be high octane all the time because that is his bar and that is how he works. So if you work for Wolfgang, like, that's the bar. You know that going in. So I think if you're showing your bar to your employees, you're telling them how it works. It's up to them to attain it.
and to want to be a part of it.
Yes.
I think we lived so long in these different restaurants at such a high level that we
Mm,
weren't able to do anything else outside of the kitchen in our lives. Today, because it's still there, but the energy that you dedicate when you feel good, it's less energy than when you feel bad. I feel more energized outside of the kitchen nowadays, much more, even though I'm older. My birthday is next Sunday, by the way.
oh, happy
Uh,
birthday.
um, than when I was younger, that I was giving
Mm,
my all 100% of the time, but just focused on the kitchen. And now I feel that inspiration comes from other places also. It comes from outside. It comes from life. It comes from doing nothing outside. This is something so
mm.
hard for us nowadays. We're so focused on being productive and doing something and doing more and doing better that there's no time for nothing and from nothing to be creative, to think about what actually matters for you. So I
I
guess
think
we're
that's
getting
really
to that.
important. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm always talking about intellectual curiosity and giving your head the space for it, because of our phones and everything it's so easy to not have to think or to be, have critical thinking because we have things entertaining us all the time. I want to just sidebar for a second because one of the things I read about you guys that I thought was really interesting, and we sort of touched on it when you talked about going to the farmers markets and meeting the purveyors. I mean, you are in the middle of Sonoma County, which, is this like crazy microclimate. So can we talk about your sourcing a little bit and food waste and how you go about doing all of that, especially in these times when I feel like food waste and composting and all that kind of stuff, like it had like this huge moment, and now people aren't talking about it as much, but it's a financial saver if you're smart about it. So how do you guys go about it?
So about the farmers, we have our small garden first
Mhm.
in the hotel. It's a small one that we take from there flowers, herbs, like small things, no vegetables because it's not big enough like to say, oh yeah, we source everything from our garden.
Mhm.
But we source a lot of flowers and herbs that we use daily. Um, and then in these two markets that we go, we work with different farmers. Some, we know. Okay, for example, tomorrow we have to go to a farmers market. We know the Lonely Mountain have this incredible squash that we can get now, and you get there, and when we cook, you cook one of those ones and one of the other ones, not farmer like from the supermarket, and you cook it, and you say, how easy this is
Right.
because how they take care of the thing. And sometimes you say, okay, yeah, I'm cooking this, but I'm not doing all the work here. The work is being made by somebody before that he produced
Hmm.
the things. So the market is a really important part for us. We drive almost an hour and a half to get there, and an hour and a half to get back. And everybody in the market say, "Oh, you're crazy because you're coming from Guerneville to here." Yeah, yeah, we like to come here. So I think that's the market on how important it is for us. And on the waste, you know, is how you focus in this first time. In the beginning, you have to focus first on, okay, have a good hospitality and
Hmm.
and cooking well. That's the first part when you start on a restaurant like that. For us, what's that the important part in the first time in the beginning. And right now it's okay. We are having these things. Okay, if we are doing a dish only with squash that we have right now, how we can use 100% of the squash? Let's do only one dish of squash. Okay, let's try to use the 100% of the thing. Before it was okay, let's do a dish with squash because it's what were able to do. And right now it's hey, how we can use 100% of this. I think also that will give you the time, will give you the team that eats in the kitchen, they're working together, who is there, what ideas they bring also, because they see you doing something and say, okay, we can use this also. So I think that every time is becoming a more important part in our kitchen, and
Mhm.
how important is on how you save a lot of things that you can be using other things you can save from there, and, and you don't waste all that time.
So do you guys see this sort of sustainability, if we sort of umbrella it, like sustainability as an operational choice or more of a creative choice?
I think ideologically is something that touches both of us. Like we believe in it before anything else. It's not because it's
Hmm.
trending or because people want people to say that they're doing this. It's something that we actually want that for ourselves and for the restaurant. And then it gets translated to how we put that in our creative dishes and how we think about transforming what we can't transform in dishes for family meal. We used to have somebody that had chickens and animals at home, and if we did have some waste of lettuce or anything, she would take what we didn't use, and that was really nice because here there's a lot of countryside. There's a lot of people that have the compost going on in
Sure.
their backyard. So we would find a way to connect to these people that worked with us, or just having it in the back of your mind and knowing how important it is, even if you're not doing that for one dish, you're thinking, there's this little bit that's missing for this to
Mm,
get to the next level. And at least it's like something that is scratching inside you. And then for the next time you want to think, okay, well, we can change this for, let's add something else that we can use the rest of the ingredient of the produce that we are not using. So it's
mm.
very much inside us, just from how we believe it should be.
Well, it makes it really authentic, right? So it's not a stretch. So it's not a stretch for you and
Yeah.
it's not a stretch for the team. All right. I'm going to have to start wrapping up the show, but I'd love to sort of say, um, let me two questions to sort of wrap it up. So, how do you feel right now at this moment in time that your restaurant, the Lodge at Don Ranch, how does it evolve? Like what are you looking forward to this year or maybe next year where you're like, we're really hoping to do do I get a secret? I love secrets and I'm so good at not keeping them. So you do want to tell me.
Not you.
So I think right now we are in the best moment of the restaurant. Like
Hmm.
I feel like each day we're in a best situation, and that's keep us here, because a few
Mm,
years ago when we started was okay. Looks like each day that it's going, we are the same, and that's difficult when you don't see your evolution every day. And right now we see that, and that makes us really happy. Um I feel like for us right now in the moment, the objectives in the on 2026 is probably like try to get in some awards, because we are in Guerneville. That's a reality. We are out of the big cities, so
right.
to bring people here, like having an award is always something that for us is important, because will put us on a map.
Mm,
Uh, in food, I think each time we are getting better on rediscovering ourselves, like go deep ourselves and see what our memories, what things we can bring to our guests. I
hmm.
think that's something that each time we are getting better. Like, okay, now the menu we can say that, okay, we are putting 20% of our soul here, and we like that can be felt by our guests.
Can you say that again? It's hard to hear
No,
you.
that it's
I can't
that
hear
it's
you over the river.
no, that I think putting our souls, like our memories, on the menu, it's what we try to do, so our guests can feel that,
Mm.
there's an input and a why of why we are doing these things, that they can feel that why.
That's great. And Juliana, what about for you?
Yeah, I feel for the first time I feel proud of what we're doing. I feel it is what we wanted to do. I feel we're
Mm.
actually doing what we wanted to do. after some time here. And aiming big, aiming to be on the list, maybe aiming for a Michelin star, not because of the Michelin itself, but as Nacho said, it's something that
What
puts
comes
you
with
on the
it?
map. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and people that wouldn't find out about this place or wouldn't know that we are here because we're so isolated in some way. In the summer, we're really busy. There's so many people in town, but it's not like that all year round.
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that we would be on in a map for people, that's very important for us. More than just having the star. It's something that brings a lot
Well, and
with
there's
it.
nothing wrong with, it's funny, my last guest who I was just talking to, who got a James Beard nod
Yeah.
uh 2 years ago, he was like, yeah, I wasn't even looking for that. He was like, that didn't even occur to me. And he's like, and nobody's got any of that, he's in Omaha, he's like, it's so different. Whereas like where you guys are, there's lots of stars, right? And there's lots of, I mean, there's so much good food. So yes, you do want that. And yes, it will make you stand out. And it's good for business.
And also there's 1 3 stars right here, but then there's nothing else around. So
Mm.
people are coming and they have the one special dinner one night. Where do they go the next night? Where what else can they see? And they sometimes we don't want to be the fancy place. We want to be the place where people feel it's true. When they come, there's
Mm.
something that people always say, a lot of our guests say, is how real the staff feels. It doesn't feel fake. It
Mm.
doesn't feel that it's rehearsed or anything. We want people to be themselves. We have a system of work. We have something put in place. We want to do what we're doing, but people are themselves, and I feel that that's getting to people as well, because in the end, the food has to be amazing, the hospitality, but the connection that you make with people is also something that stays when you have your experience, and that you carry and that you tell your friends and that you go with
Well,
it.
it either brings them back or exactly, they tell their friends, they're like, this is where you need to go. Listen,
Yeah.
I adore you both. I so greatly appreciate your time and listening to that water. I'm like going to play this over and over again so I can just hear that sound as I go to bed tonight. I have to say, if anybody who is listening to the show today is planning their 2026 travel bucket list, I think that the Lodge at Don Ranch should definitely be on it. It's now on mine. I am coming to Sonoma. You just wait and see. So I want to thank you both for joining me today. Everything you heard here, you can find on the listoryouwantit.com, the online e-zine that tells you everything happening in the DMV, but it also tells you all the other things I'm doing. So, of course, you want to follow me at NYCCINELLIS on all the platforms, including YouTube, because this show is on YouTube. I know most of you download it and listen to it on the pod, which is great. But you can now see what everybody looks like on YouTube. And then don't forget everything I'm doing. I'm doing a ton of traveling and a ton of eating. You want to see all of that on Instagram. I am so grateful to have the kind of conversations that we had today about all this creativity that is happening at the Lodge at Don Ranch with both Nacho and Juliana. So thank you both for joining me today. Thank you, all my listeners. Hit subscribe, send this to a friend, and DM me if you have questions, because I'm always happy to answer. Be safe out there and have a delicious week.
Thank you, Nycci.
Produced by Heartcast Media.